Hi everybody, I'm Emily Reuben. I'm one of the founders of Duchenne UK and the CEO, and I'm really delighted to have with me Dr. Barry Byrne, who's come over all the way from Florida. Barry, can you just quickly explain your job title and what you do?
Yeah, I'm a professor of pediatrics and the director of the Powell Gene Therapy Center at the University of Florida, and been working in the gene therapy space for many years now. Very excited to be working in Duchenne gene therapy.
So you really are the person to ask about Duchenne gene therapy. For those who don't really understand how gene therapy works, can you explain to us what it's doing in Duchenne?
I think the most important thing about gene therapy in Duchenne is it's the opportunity to address the fundamental problem in Duchenne, which we know is the genetic cause of muscle weakness and cardiomyopathy. And by the opportunity to replace the Duchenne gene that makes dystrophin, we can fundamentally change the course of the disease. And I think we have some early evidence of that, but there's obviously more to do.
So this is a subject that I've been following for quite a long time. I remember when my son was diagnosed, doctors said to me, gene therapy is not going to happen. And then we had the opportunity to invest in a small company at the time, Solid Biosciences, and with two other charities in the UK, we invested $5 million. And now there are, of course, several companies working in the gene therapy space for Duchenne. So one company, Sarepta, recently published their phase 3 data, and unfortunately it failed to meet its primary endpoints, but met some of its secondary endpoints. What do you think patients can learn from that data? Does this mean that the product doesn't work, or are we just at the beginning of the journey?
Yeah, well, it has been a journey because I was the principal investigator of the Ignite DMD study, and it was actually Valentine's Day, a little over 5 years ago, that the first boy was enrolled in the study.
That was the Solid study.
Correct.
Yeah.
And now, as you say, there are now others that have followed that lead that you helped and the foundation helped enable, and that was, as you said, really thought to be a challenge to really get acceptance of that idea. And now, not only in Duchenne, but we see in many other forms of heart disease, a very strong push to bring gene therapy products to the market. And I think because of that collective wisdom, we do see what has worked and where there are limitations, in some cases safety concerns that we're addressing, and ways forward to improve on what's been learned so far in the past 5 years.
So even though the results we're seeing right now aren't as impactful as we probably would have hoped for in the early days, you still believe there is hope for gene therapy as a treatment? Yeah,
because I think because we know that this is the root cause of the disease, and if given early enough, under the right circumstances, with the most effective, safe approach, and we've learned a lot about that in the past few years, I think it will be impactful and transformative, and that's what's needed, even not just for those boys who are newly diagnosed with Duchenne, but those who've been living with Duchenne for many years now are facing the challenges of later stages of the disease. There's still an opportunity to treat the cardiac aspects of the disease in those boys and young men.
We hear a lot from families who are really desperate to get their sons onto gene therapy trials, and the spaces are limited. What would you say to those families who have tried but haven't been able to get onto a gene therapy clinical trial? There are
obviously many reasons why individuals are not included in studies. Availability, for one, the very carefully chosen inclusion-exclusion criteria, one of which we've addressed with the help of Duchenne UK to understand the limitations and whether there's management strategies to address the antibody exclusion criteria. I think that problem is solvable.
So you mean if you have pre-existing antibodies, you cannot take part in the clinical trial, but we've been working with you to help look at how we can overcome that. So that will be overcome, that particular challenge.
Yeah, I think we're actually about to start a study related to what we've looked at in conjunction with the approach that's been established thus far with the existing products. We're looking at other repurposing of products which will help lower antibodies potentially permanently. And this will probably impact the effectiveness long term of even those who don't have exclusionary antibody levels, because the antibodies do inhibit the effectiveness as well as prevent people from participating with either the commercial product or within research studies.
So going back to that question, if you haven't been able to get your son onto a clinical trial, are there any words of reassurance you can give families?
Well, I think one of the things that I think families said to me as they've kind of contemplated whether to participate now or wait as more knowledge is gathered and products improve, whether there's a benefit in some ways is to find that window where there's still opportunity for improvement, whether it's the cardiac aspects alone or both to preserve ambulation and receive some cardiac benefit. We've learned a lot from the existing products, but I think it's helping us to refine the approach and improve on them. So those that have waited shouldn't despair, because I think there are really opportunities to benefit in the end.
Barry, thank you so much for talking to us and sharing your wisdom.
Yeah, delighted.
If you want to find out any more about gene therapy, go to our website, duchenneuk.org. Thanks for watching.